You are listening to the Slow Living Podcast, and I'm your host, Stephanie O'Day. What if I told you that you could truly have the life of your dreams, the life you've always wanted, one filled with abundance, joy, and a sense of purpose? It's absolutely possible, and I see it each and every day with my coaching clients. It all starts with learning how to slow down. You deserve to live the life you've always dreamt about. Let's get started. You are listening to the Slow Living Podcast, and this is episode number 34. And we are going to title this episode, Mom, You Are Amazing. And that's because that is the name of my friend Sandy Cooper's brand new book that she put out this year, May of 2022, in honor of Mother's Day. And this episode is going to come out after Mother's Day, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't read the book. I want you to read the book. This is such a fantastic book, and Sandy is such an amazing and gifted writer, and we're going to go right on in, and you are going to fall in love with her exactly the same way I did so many years ago. So buckle your seatbelt, Slow Down Society. We are going to dive on in, and this is me interviewing my friend Sandy about her new book entitled, Mom, You're Amazing. Sandy Cooper is in the house, and I am so happy to have you here because I feel as if I've known you for 100 million years.
100 million.
We are lifelong best friends.
Yes.
And we hang out and chill.
We do.
And do all these great things, except I've never met you in real life.
True.
I've never hugged you in real life.
It feels like we
on
have.
the phone. I know.
I know.
And
it feels
also,
like
we're Zooming at the same time. And
This is
Sandy
fun.
Cooper, you are rocking the shoulders and the arms. You look fantastic.
Thank you. I haven't been working out very much, though. I need to because this, life. I mean, I won't go into it all, but it's just taken over. Life has taken over. But thank you for the kind compliment because I'm in workout clothes because you promised me we wouldn't be like posting this on the YouTube. So
the
okay.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Wait,
that's right.
capital T.
That's right. That's how us old people, we refer to everything techie with a the,
Well,
the
earlier
TikTok.
When
Amazon.
earlier when we were talking ring lighting, you said, oh, you go to Amazon.com.
That's right. I said theamazon.com. Which isn't even accurate because if you type that in, you'll probably end up at like something geographical, like showing a river.
Yes.
So,
oh my goodness.
But Steph, I want to say too, to all of, well, maybe we'll talk about this more in a minute, but I too feel like I've known you for 1,000 million years. And when I refer to you in real life, I always say, my friend Stephanie O'Day. Like I always call you my friend.
Yeah. So I had your book that we're going to talk about on my desk yesterday because that's what you get to do when you're a school site secretary is in between phone calls and emails and bloody noses. Every once in a while you can read. Also, the principal was out, so it was kind of
nice. And more opportunity to read.
So my friend Joan says, oh, what is this? And I said, oh, my friend Sandy wrote a book. When I'm done, you should read it. But absolutely, like no duh, you're my friend Sandy.
Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. And whenever I like link to something you've done or, have one of your cookbooks out, which I have several, I will often say, yes, my friend Stephanie wrote this. My friend, and I always throw in New York Times bestseller. Like I always say that because I want people to associate me with that. And you, but also that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, 1 degree away from greatness.
You are so funny. So I think, okay, so what year are we? We're in 2022.
Can you believe it?
So we've been friends for a very long time. And
we met in probably 2008. Yeah, I'm thinking.
So that was the crockpot year. Mm-hmm. And then your website is The Scoop on Balance.
Correct.
And that was in the throes of me trying to balance everything and really being kind of annoyed at the internet who kept telling me that I couldn't do it, that I couldn't balance anything. I couldn't balance everything. And I just felt an immediate connection to you that what a defeatist attitude. Why go around telling people you can't balance things? Like, what's the point then? Like why are we doing all of these things? Of course you can. Like, isn't that the American dream to have it all?
Right. Yes. Well, and I have a lot of thoughts about that. So if you have a question and you're asking that, I have an answer.
Okay, yes.
Is
tell
that a
me,
question?
Sandy Cooper, tell the rest of the world how they are.
Well, I'm not going to tell them how they're wrong because I hear that it's going to get coming.
Okay, you do you. Yeah. You tell me your thoughts.
Okay, here are my thoughts. Because I was actually thinking about all of this right before we got on because you were kind enough to send me a few thoughts. And I thought, I want to give an articulate answer because, just because that's good. That's good for people to hear articulation.
Articulation. I think we should make a song. I like it. Articulation.
Yeah, I like to sing. Okay. So first of all, I do think that the word balance has turned into, it's a very polarizing term for women, especially. And like you, I have spent a lot of my internet scroll time fielding that concept of balance is a myth, balance is a unicorn, balance doesn't exist, stop trying to balance your life. And my response to that, First of all, I think having balance and doing it all are not exactly the same thing. So I want to address that secondly. But the first thing I want to say is that I think it's really important to define our terms. You've been a teacher, so defining terms is really important because if we're not talking about the same thing, I may very well agree with you that your definition of balance is not feasible. And so if you're talking about craziness, then I might be like, yeah, well, sure. I mean, if that's what you're trying to do. And I know for many years, I was trying to balance my life in unrealistic ways and trying all the wrong things. And so what I usually do when I am encountering that, or more importantly, when I'm encountering, because I don't much pay attention to it on the internet anymore, but when I'm encountering a woman face to face who wants to discuss this and feels like it's not realistic, I will first help her define balance by helping her understand what balance is not. And so, balance, and I have a whole list of things. I'm just going to read them to you because these are the things that balance to me is not. Balance.
Can I just tell you right now?
Yes.
You're just wonderful. And I love everything you're doing. And I appreciate this because it is a loaded term.
It is.
I think people are envisioning a tightrope and you have to do it this perfectly one way or you're going to fall off.
Yes.
And that is why I've always connected with you. So I'm super insanely excited to hear your list.
This is so fun. Okay. So first of all, I don't think balance is doing every single thing. Okay. I don't think balance is doing everything that your friends are doing. I don't think balance is doing everything that your friends think you should be doing. Balance is not doing everything you see people doing on social media. Balance is not doing everything well. Like you're allowed to stink at something. It's totally okay. And you can still be balanced. Balance is not doing everything by yourself without help. Balance is not doing a little bit of every single thing every single day, which is what I was trying to do for like the first 20 years of adulthood. Balance. I just gave my
20 years is accurate. I
maybe
think we
10.
can bump that.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking because you're 10 years old. I'm thinking your first 10 years of motherhood. Maybe you were trying to do that.
Well, and also the 10 years before motherhood, I will say. Like when I was like single crazy woman, I was trying to do everything every day. And
I think there was some fuzzy math there, Sandy.
Yeah, I'm horrible at math. See, that's one thing.
We're 28 perpetually.
Yeah, but I'm not. Okay, it's not spreading yourself equally among every person and task and responsibility and expectation that you have of yourself and everyone has of you. That's not balance. And balance, I think, and this is a huge one, balance is not the absence of stress or conflict. Like stress
Wait, say it over again.
Balance is not the absence of stress or conflict. Like people think that if they feel any bit of discomfort or stress, then they're doing it wrong. And I would just want to invite you to humanity where stress and
welcome
conflict.
to the real world. Yeah.
It's like stress and conflict. And I'm not saying if you live in a perpetual state of stress, then we have an issue and let's address that. But for most people, you will encounter stress and conflict just because you're in a world with people. And so that's what it means. Like you're going to have stress and conflict. So after 20 years, I mean, literally of trying to do balance by one of those definitions, I came to a different definition. And for me, when I'm talking about balance, I am talking about this. I'm talking about it's the peace that I have. And I know you love the word peace and you use that in a lot of your writing and podcasting too. It's the peace that I have when I know, first of all, what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And my life is living in alignment with that. Okay. So that's balance. And so, so much of balance is a mental, there's so much of a mental component to it. So like when you talked about people see it as a tightrope, and, there are a lot of mental images, again, why it's so polarizing and why people want to just chuck the whole idea. Because isn't it easier when you've tried and failed at something to just say that's impossible rather than to say, well, wait, maybe I'm defining it wrong. Maybe I can make some adjustments and find the real way to do it. So it's easier for women to just say, yeah, I tried all of that and that doesn't work. Let's just say it doesn't exist. Yeah. But so when
it's a brain shortcut.
It is, right. It's just, yes.
We teach our kids that work is work.
Right.
and if it was easy, everybody would do it. But
right.
We're not trying to live an everybody life. We're trying to live what we hope is kind of an extraordinary life.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, when you talked about the tightrope imagery, I do think a lot of women have that in their mind. And the one that plagued me for so many years was like the balance scales. And it's very confusing because if you like go to my website or you go to like read my first book, I use this scale like as a little icon. So it's confusing because that isn't how I want to view balance, because what that implies is that like everything has to be in perfect alignment at all times. And that if you like take something from one side, it throws it off and then you have to like adjust and do. And so I was doing that all the time and being very frustrated. And what I really realized, for me to make balance a workable thing, I had to change my view of it as more of a pendulum, where like a pendulum swings. It's the rhythm of the swinging back and forth that gives the energy, that gives the life to, if you think of it like with a clock, or you even think of it as like, I live near the ocean now. I know you live near the ocean on the other coast, so far away from me.
So at some point there will be a union.
Yes. At one of the coasts. Let's make it at a coast. There are so many margaritas. Yes. And so, when I think of like that energy of the back and forth, the ebbs and flows, the extremes of pendulum swinging, it helps me grasp what is often seemingly an unbalanced life season or an unbalanced week or an unbalanced day. Yeah. I can just like hop on that thing and ride it over and realize, and I always think of like when you bring infants home, it is the most whack season.
Yes.
You are not sleeping. People are bringing you meals. You've got this human attached to you.
A lot of times you're thankful for the meals and you're like,
but it's like,
eat that crap.
I don't want to eat this. I never eat this. Right.
Let's have
totally
carb overload right now.
Exactly.
Well, I'm already feeling like flumpity flump. So,
yes. Or everything's just a big roast. It's always a roast or lasagna. Those are the two favorites.
So much lasagna.
So much lasagna. So
it's one thing I wanted to piggyback on when you were talking about the tightropiness and the scales is to point out that sort of society has created this set of rules that people think that they need to check off like a to-do list. And it comes really from just how we raise humans now is
Yes.
tell me what to do in order to please mom. Tell me what to do in order to please my teacher. What is going to be on the test? I'm going to learn exactly what's on the test, and I'm going to do these things, and I'm going to check it off, and I'm going to get my A, and then I'm going to move on. And tell me what I need to do in order to graduate and get this degree and get this job. And then all of a sudden, you're a parent, and you're now in charge of raising this next generation, and you're a quote unquote adult, even though you really don't feel very adulty.
Yes.
And you want to be told exactly what to do and how to get this baby to stop crying. And if just I learn how to swaddle better, the reflux will go away. And, and it's so challenging. And we think if we Google enough, we're going to get the answer. And really, it's sort of kind of unplugging and going within and following your intuition.
Yes.
Which hasn't been bred in us
No.
in a very long time. Like what does that mean?
Right. Well, and I think that is the key to figuring out what is, I mean, I think in order for us to really achieve true balance or peace is understanding, first of all, what's important to you right now and being realistic about the season of life you're in. Like, you have to be realistic about your circumstances, which is why I'm a little hesitant when I'm a little hesitant to tell women straight up without really knowing where they're coming from that they can have anything that they want. Because I think society, like you said, has fed us a bill of goods that we should want things that maybe aren't even really that important to us.
Yeah.
The whole thing about advertising is really to create to make us discontent with how we currently are, and then tell us because what you need, you're lacking something. It's like to constantly make us feel like we're lacking.
So what's interesting is I have my own business coach who's always telling me that I need to sell harder. I'm like, I don't like that part.
Right.
She's like, well, you're in business. I'm like, I just want to help people. So I get that, because in growing up, my dad used to sort of quip, and I'm sure it was dating advice, but he would say, never trust a salesperson because they're going to talk you into doing something or buying something you don't want or need.
And he's thinking about, his daughter on a date.
My guard is immediately up.
Me too.
Whenever there's some sort of sales pitch, I'm uncomfortable with it. Yes, I have all this great stuff. I would love for you to buy it. If you don't, that's okay. I'm still going to like you.
Right.
And that's why I think you and I connect so much. And then this book, which really you're on this podcast to promote, and it's adorable that you haven't pushed it in any way so far. But that's the title of this podcast, which is Mom, You're Amazing.
Yeah.
And that's the title of your book. And I think that is the takeaway, is it doesn't matter what you're doing. The fact that you're doing it.
Yes.
And the fact that you want to try to do it maybe a little bit better or a little bit easier already separates you from the herd. You're already more thoughtful and more mindful and more aware, and you're already going to be raising this next generation to be more humanitarian and kind than you may think of others. And you absolutely do not need all of the fancies in any way. The kids needs hugs, and unconditional love.
Yep.
And
they need you to be there.
They don't need Disney. They don't need Hawaii. They don't need a European
I love Disney.
getaway.
I love a good Disney. So I'm, they might
You're
need.
in Florida.
Yeah,
and I'm
I do.
actually in California. But so yes, I love a good Disney too. But it doesn't mean you failed if you don't.
If you can't do that. No. Yeah. And I think that really is like, because the mom who is saying, how can I have everything? Might have that in her mind. Like all those things you just checked off, those might be things that she, for whatever reason, if she just exposes herself to Instagram for an hour, she will see all of these moms doing all of these things and immediately internalize that and really weirdly like form it into one person. So she'll like take the mom who's taken her kids to Disney and the one who does crafts and the one who's killing it in their home business and the one who just lost all her baby weight and the one who just had date night with her husband and the one who's walking on the beach and the one who's having her quiet time with her coffee and her book. And then she'll like form it and morph it into one woman. And then she'll add to that all the things that are important to her. So like whatever then is important to, you know, this woman, it becomes this woman that first of all isn't even real. Right. Which is why I'm careful to be like, well, hold on, like what's everything that you are trying to achieve? And then, you know, she's always going to fall short. And then it's easy to just say, well, this has got to be fake. This has got to be a myth. And in that respect, it is a myth. But
okay,
if you,
so let's talk about that for a little bit because I love my life.
Yes,
and
me too.
You love your life.
I do.
And I've got a great marriage, and you've got a great marriage.
Yes.
And I've got great kids, and you've got great kids.
Yes.
And I get to go to the beach.
Yeah.
And you get to go to the beach.
It's like we're the same person.
It's sort of. But I feel and I try to show the messy parts and that I just try to find the good in things. And because I try and find the good of things, somehow more good happens.
Yes.
And like, is that a real thing? Like,
yeah.
So in law of attraction, university speak,
sure,
that is a real thing.
Yeah,
and so I'm gonna confess that the first time that I talked to Sandy on the phone, I was a nervous wreck because I thought I wasn't Christian-y enough. And
I hate that.
No, I don't want you to hate it because it was my own insecurity. And then you wrote back and you said, I hope I never gave off an air of that. And you didn't.
Okay,
you didn't
good.
Anyway, it was me. And so like yesterday I was in a Catholic church for a funeral and tomorrow we're going to a bar mitzvah. So I'm very chameleon-y. With religion and spiritualness, and I love all aspects. I don't necessarily like rules, and so that's sometimes where I get a little turned off. But you are not that way. And
well, thank you.
Where was it going, Sandy?
You were talking about your life and how you love it and how you have.
So is it because we have actively chosen that even though there's sticky countertops and crumbs on the floor, I'm going to sit and hug the babies and see that as a silver lining? Is that like then somehow we were cosmically rewarded or like I don't get it because I don't feel any better or any different than anybody else. And I'm sure you don't either. Right.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, that's a huge question. And I would say that, you know, without giving it a whole lot of thought, I might change my answer. We might have to do a part 2 if I change my answer. Okay.
I'll talk to you every day.
That's so fun. Well, we do talk technically every day. We just listen to each other's stuff and we read each other's stuff. So it feels like I just told you before we hit record that I feel like I talk to you every day, even though we don't talk every day because I feel like.
Let's plug your podcast really quick. What's your podcast is Scoop on Balance?
No, the Balanced Momcast. The Balanced Momcast.
And that is on all of the devices.
It's on everything, yes.
And you're a podcast veteran.
I have been over 3 years now. Yeah, I'm about to record my 150th episode. Wow. Yeah, so that's been really fun. Although I am going to take a break for the summer. So if people are hearing this in the summer and they're like, what? She hasn't recorded a podcast since the end of May. Yep, because that's what I do for the sake of balance. Because
you have 150 to go back and listen to.
Yeah, so you
don't
have
complain.
That's right. You have plenty of time to catch up before I resume in the fall.
Okay.
So back to your question.
What was your answer? Because
the answer I didn't answer yet.
I threw you the world's largest matzo ball to hit back to me.
No, I love it. Okay, so I think that how we live matters. I don't think we are just here by chance. I don't think our choices are without consequences. I think we can make like legitimately good choices and we can make legitimately bad choices. And I think that our lives will bear the fruit of the decisions that we make 100 times a day, or whatever, 35,000 times a day. If you Google that on the Google, on the Google, then you will see that we make approximately 35,000 choices a day. And I do think that our lives will bear the fruit of those decisions. And so if you are making daily decisions to love your people well, if you're making daily decisions to be thankful for everything that you have and focus on those things, if you are generous with your time and your resources, which I have to plug you really quick, one of the reasons why Steph and I are friends, well, probably the reason that we are friends, is because in 2008, when she had this super mega popular blog that totally blew up. I don't know who sent me there, but someone said, oh, crock pot, blah, 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 get a recipe there. And I found something on there that I liked or had a question about. And in the midst of 100 comments, probably, I wrote something and she replied. Personally replied. And back in the heyday of blogging, when everyone was responding on blogs and leaving comments, the big bloggers never replied. It was like their thing. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have time to reply to you. And Stephanie, I was so like, what? She was so generous with her time. And then when I was having like some kind of crisis, I don't even remember what it was. It was something about cleaning my house. My kids were little. I was losing my mind. I wanted to hire a cleaning lady, but I didn't want to hire a cleaning lady. And I remember reaching out to her. I was on vacation and I emailed her with all my questions, like, will she even reply? And okay, so I feel like she was so generous.
You're so sweet. And you're actually making my eyes well up with tears because this is why I've always sort of felt like a bit of a fraud in that I would go to these writers' conferences and food conferences and stuff, and they just were so snotty. Like, I look at every comment as there's an actual for reals human there.
And here she is. Like, she for real was a real human, like young mom trying to figure it out.
Yeah, like you took time out of your day to write to me. Like, that's very sweet. And if it was a blogging software, you took the time to like create an account and like do all this stuff. Like, that's a lot of time and work and effort. And now with children, and it's like I want to be a mom to every human is how I sort of feel right now. Like, every worm, let's save the worm, and all of the things.
Yes.
But all of the like, it's all just somebody's baby. So somebody cutting me off in traffic. Oh, okay. All right. You go do what you need to do.
Right.
Safely. Please be safe.
Right.
But it's somebody's child, obviously. Maybe somebody's parent. Maybe somebody got really bad news and are rushing to go take care of it. Like, that is okay. I am not in a rush. I'm literally not in a rush.
Right. And I think because you are constantly making those kinds of decisions, which is why I even used those things as an example, is because those are the kinds of decisions as long as I have known you and as far as you have communicated with me, you have been generous and kind with your knowledge, with your expertise, with whatever information you've had, you have like lavished it on me as if I'm your BFF and we had never met. And so because, Steph, that you have made decisions like that, I believe that you reap the benefits of sowing. It's like sowing good seed into soil. If you sow good seed into soil, good plants will come up. If you're constantly tending your garden and pulling up weeds and putting in, fertilizer and compost and all the things that you need to grow a good crop. I'm not a farmer. I'm sounding like I am.
I really like this because in my Slow Down and Simplify ebook, I talk about my grass, which is really silly because we're in California and there's a drought and I'm not supposed to have grass, but I have really good organic soil, so I can only water once a week and blah, blah, blah. Environmentalists, stay away. I promise it's very good soil. But because of that, like, it's so silly. I sit in the grass with Sheldon and I rake through the grass blades. If one doesn't look right, I pluck it, which I look at it as one therapy because I'm just alone with my thoughts, or you're in my ears because I'm listening to a podcast. But since I do it so often, it's not overtaken, even though across the street, there's literally a house like suburban front yards and it's Dandelion City. Like you can't fix that unless you rototill the whole thing.
Right.
But because I'm constantly paying attention to my little postage stamp of grass, and so when you're looking at your life and you're looking at your thoughts and you're in the middle of one of these really frantic kind of seasons of life, how do you tune out all of that negativity so then you can go within and pay attention to these little beings?
Well, I think that is the question, isn't it? Because, and this is where I'm going to lean heavily on, my Christian worldview of things. But there is a scripture in the Bible that says to take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. Okay, so whether or not you're a Christian, just take the concept of taking every thought into captivity and making it obedient. Okay, first of all, that implies that this is going to be a fight, because if you have to take something captive and make it obedient, it means it doesn't want to be taken captive. It means it wants to be its own thing. And so if we just let our thoughts...
I love that, because now I'm like envisioning this little like thought monster with like crazy arms, and you're putting it in a cage and captive.
Yes.
What a great visual, Sandy Cooper.
It is. And that is how I approach it every time I feel like I need to change the way I'm thinking. I have to remember this is not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. And so it takes some effort, and you can't just take captive a thought, make it obedient to whatever it is you want to make it obedient to without replacing it with a better thought. And so understanding and this, Steph, I feel as though I have literally rewired my brain, because when my kids were babies, and I write about this a lot, I'm on my blog. I've been blogging since 2008, and early on in the blog, when I was writing all the time, I wrote a lot about my struggle with depression and anxiety, and overwhelm is just a thing that has always been an issue for me. And so much of it is it's not even overwhelming my schedule, it's overwhelming my thinking. And so I can remember walking through my house when my kids were tiny and just literally saying out loud, like, I need a new brain. Like, it just felt so like your neighbor across the street who just has to till the whole thing over and just start over. I almost felt like if I could just have a brain transplant, like, do they do those? Where could I find a better one? And I realized that by just doing what I just described, like one by one, when a thought comes in that is not a thought that is serving me, it is not serving my family, it's not serving the people I love, it's not serving the vision I have for my life, that I have got to, first of all, recognize that it's a thought, that I do have control over what I'm thinking. I might not have control over the thought entering my mind, but I do have control over what I do with it. So if my thought automatically, you mentioned traffic and people cutting you off. If every time, and this is a real thing. Okay. So real life example, you brought up something that I've deliberately changed. I hate bad drivers. It drives me nuts when people are like in and out, weaving in and out of traffic and cutting me off and, going 90 when the speed limit's 50 or whatever.
Sure.
Can't stand it. And so when I used to just like grip the steering wheel and people would cut me off and I'd just be like, oh, and I would think bad things like, you're a bad driver and you're a bad person and you're going to kill somebody. And who do you think you are? And I started replacing that thought, first of all, with what you just said. I thought, you know what? I've been the mom with the kid with Noah, my oldest son, who died. When we took him to the hospital, we were driving like that. Yeah. And I've been that mom. And so I immediately think, maybe there's an emergency. Mm-hmm. And the next thing that I do is I pray for them. And I'm just like, God, whatever, just please keep them safe. Yeah. Bless their family, bless whatever they're doing right now, whatever's making them feel like they need to put everyone's lives at risk, including mine. Just bless them, God. Now that it was really hard at first, it was really hard when someone cuts you off to be like, oh my gosh, and think good things and pray for them and their goodness. But after you do it, like, we know enough about the brain now that you can create new neural pathways. Like you really can. So that whole wish that I had back, 25 years ago, where I was like, God, give me a new brain. Like, I feel like he has, because he's shown me the way. Take every thought captive, Sandy, make it obedient, and then replace it with good. So, the thankfulness and the focusing on what's important right now and not focusing on it's literally like, I don't know what plagues other people, the kinds of thoughts that plague most other women. I just know mine. So I just know literally I have to take each thing individually, wrestle that thing down, replace it with something that serves my family, serves me, serves my vision for my life. And Steph, we can really create then the life. That's how you do it. And it's a lengthy process. It's not going to be like, hey, can you give us a quick tip? And you're going to go off.
There's no quick tips.
No.
Okay. Lots of thoughts while you were talking, but I didn't want to interrupt you. So your book, which is Mom, You're Amazing. In the preface, you talked about Noah and the trauma and this traumatic life experience that you and your husband went through. And then you continued to kind of process and reprocess. And I actually right before, because I knew you were going to come on, I wanted to record an episode on trauma. So that will come out before your episode.
Good.
Because I think when people think about trauma and healing from trauma, they think there's a certain way, and when you're healed, you're healed. And I know that's not true. And you can't just sort of flip a switch and be done and over something. And reading your essays, and you are such a gifted writer. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
I kept crying and smearing mascara at my desk, and I'm wearing my N95 mask. So the whole top part of it is black with, and I had foundation on. So it was
beautiful.
Definite hot mess. But you are such a great writer.
Thank you.
And the way you processed your thoughts and sort of made when you have a traumatic event, and life in general is messy, and there's lots of trauma that occurs on different levels. Everyone is going to come across death in their lifetime. Everyone is going to have some sort of horrific series of events that happens in front of them. And when I think of trauma, I think of a thought and an envisioning and emotions that you can't sort of shake. And that is what I tried to explain in the last episode, and that you have to work through it, and you have to go through it at your own time, in your own pace.
Yes.
And you are such a testament to that, because you could have gone the other way.
100%. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I will attribute so much of that, because, our trauma happened with our first child and we were young. And I think, to be introduced to motherhood in that way was life altering. It was life altering for sure. It's going to be life altering at any point in life. But that set the course for the kind of mom and really the kind of adult I was going to be, because, I was in my 20s when that happened. And so I will attribute so much of that healing and doing it in the right way to one of the dear women at our church at the time. They were our worship pastors, and I was on the phone with them. It was right after Noah died, and we had all prayed for him to live, and everyone was devastated. It was just that time where I just didn't even have words to to describe the amount of like devastation and shock and pain. Like there's no words to describe what it's like. And they were on the phone with me while I was like screaming. Okay. Like legit screaming and just so angry and so hurt and everything hurt. And Lisa is her name, Lisa Nelson. If she ever comes across this podcast, hi, Lisa.
Lisa, thank you for taking care of my friends.
Yes, thank you. Yes, 100%. And she said to me, she said, Sandy, you do whatever you need to do to get better, to move through this. And she said, if that means, and she started naming things, she goes, if that means that you go and sit in the rocking chair where you rocked him every day and you rock all day, you do that. If you have to hold his blankets to your face, if you have to get out and, see people, if you have to stay home and see no people, she said, and you do not. And then her husband got on the phone. His name is Rusty. Thank you, Rusty. And he got on and he said, and you say whatever you need to say to God because he is not offended at your questions. And those two things, like, first of all, knowing that I could say whatever I needed to say to God because I was so disillusioned. Like, I didn't know if I could ever walk with a God or serve a God in any way who would that would give me a good parking space when I pray for it, but won't heal my son. Like, I didn't get that. And so, and also, grief is such a weird thing and everyone tells you how to do it. And they tell you it should go in stages and, and then they name the stages.
Well, and that's back to the checklist. Oh, okay.
Yes,
there's
right.
these 7 stages. Where am I? Like,
where am I? And that is not at all how real grief is. It's all over the place. And those might be the different things you feel, but you can feel all those things in the same 5 minutes sometimes, yes. and go back and forth between them. But if I would not have felt the freedom to say whatever and feel whatever I needed to feel toward God, and without feeling like I would be condemned or separated from Him, and also feeling like I could do whatever I needed to do for however long I needed to do it to heal, I don't think I would be okay. Because I couldn't envision a day when I would ever truly feel joy again. And I can tell you that I 100% feel joy every single day. And while I still very much miss Noah, and I would never want to wish anything like that, I would wish I didn't have to go through it. I hate that anyone ever has to lose a kid. But I am so thankful that the pain, I don't feel like the pain has been wasted. I have squeezed every single bit of life and help for every other person I know to the best. I've used it in every possible way to better myself, to better my family, to better my children, to better every parent who's gone through trials. It's helped me to be a less judgmental parent. It's helped me to be a more compassionate parent. It's helped me to be more thankful and mindful. All those things that we like, how do I stay present? All I have to do is remember, hey, guess what? I might not get tomorrow with this kid because I've had a last day with a kid. And all of a sudden it's like immediate clarity, So that was a lot. I don't even know what your question was. Did you ask a question? What did we say? What?
I love hearing you speak, and you speak the way you write, and I think that is just wonderful.
Thank you.
I have to go to work now.
No, don't leave me.
I hear Adam out in the backyard, and he's watering the lemon trees, and I need to go wake Sheldon up. So it is 6:53 a.m. My time, which means it's 9:53. And you have workout clothes on, and I'm totally jealous. But
that's where I'm going next, baby.
But one of my favorite things about my job right now is that I get to be a mom all day long and just love on the people. And
same.
And that is who you are. And that was one last thing that I wanted to touch on is you are perfectly A-okay with self-identifying as a mom first.
Yes.
And I feel sometimes, and it's not okay to try and recreate the past. But I think sometimes people are very quick to not lean in right now to being a mom first. And now that you've got older kids and I've got older kids, do you have any regrets that you leaned into being a mom first?
I have zero regrets about that. In fact, I know myself well enough to know if I wouldn't have done that, I would have regretted that. I am now, we talked about bearing fruit from making decisions. I am now literally, well, it's not literal because that's a metaphor. I am metaphorically bearing.
No, don't say bad words. Sorry.
That's right. Oh, now this has to be explicit. Dang it. I am metaphorically bearing all the fruit of that decision. That single decision to, if I have to decide between, sacrificing quality time, and that's not to say, and you know this, you don't always, you don't like live hand and foot, waiting on your kids. There are times for you to go do some other things, and I totally celebrate when moms do that. But the overarching, like when you need to be present, you need to put something else aside for a while, for a season or for the day or for a moment. I am now, like, the relationships that I now have with my children, who are now 23, 20, and 15. I wouldn't have that. I'm so close with all of my kids. And it's because I just every day had to make a decision, because, when you read the book, you see me fighting through, because those essays, a lot of them were written in that season where I was like, but God, like, don't you want me to be a writer? And then
don't you want me to be an internet millionaire the way that guy says you can do?
Right.
That marketing guy who's sort of full of it.
And for me, it was like, I want to be an arena speaker. All these women who like go and speak to arenas of people. I'm so glad, Steph, that he did not give me that. Like, I'm so glad that wasn't because now here I am on the other side, and maybe now I have a little more time and I could actually go speak in an arena, and I don't want to. I'm like, no, I like this quiet. And I like that your whole podcast emphasis is on slowing down and living a smaller life, because I think you realize that the big things are the small things.
Ooh, I like that. That's a bumper sticker.
There you go. Yes. Maybe that should be the subtitle. Mom, you're amazing. The big things are the small things. No, that doesn't work. Never mind.
So your book. So we're going to plug it one last time, and then I for realsies have to wake up Sheldon and take him for a walk, or he's going to poop in the crate, and it's a big thing.
It is a big thing.
It's a big thing. And Sheldon is so much my baby. So
I know he's so cute.
I tuck him in at night in his crate, which is essentially a crib, and then I wake him up again. And
of course, and then you have to go take him for a walk and feed him.
We slightly Ferberized him when he was a baby, and I struggled with that.
So great.
But it's fine.
It's so
it worked
great.
out okay.
Yes, you're a good dog, Mom.
Okay.
Good for you.
So Sandy Cooper is spelled exactly the way Sandy Cooper should be spelled.
That's right. With a Y and a C. That's right. One P.
And it's Mom, you're amazing, and other things I want to tell you.
Yes.
And
thank you.
My favorite part about this is you can pick this book up and then put it back down. Mm-hmm. So if you have mom ADHD brain, or if you're doing 106 million things at once, that is okay, because
short
they are
chapters.
Bite-sized chapters. It's delicious and wonderful and lovely, just like you.
Oh, you're the best. I'm so glad we did this. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Do you have a slow living story to share? Leave me a voicemail at stephanieodea.com/podcast with any questions, comments, feedback, or testimonials, and I will be sure to include it in an upcoming episode. Also, if you found value in this episode, please share it with your family and friends and subscribe through your favorite podcast provider. The more you share, comment, and leave positive reviews, the more people we can reach and share the slow living lifestyle and messaging. Thank you, Slow Down Society, and have an absolutely wonderful day.